I thought time meant safety. We had history, years of it, shared routines, shared friends, shared plans, the kind of relationship people point to and say, that's solid. He wasn't loud. He wasn't charming in a way that made people nervous. He was consistent, and I trusted consistency more than words. We built a life that looked stable from the outside. Weeknight dinners, weekend errands, conversations that didn't surprise me anymore. I believed that meant loyalty. When people talked about cheating, I never pictured him, not because I thought he was perfect, but because I thought he was predictable, and predictable felt safe. Looking back, the signs were there. Not obvious ones. Just small things that didn't demand attention. A phone was turned face down. A sudden password change. Stories that stayed vague when details mattered. But nothing screamed danger. So I didn't scream either. I told myself long relationships go quiet sometimes. That passion fades. That routine replaces excitement. I believed maturity meant accepting that. I defended him without being asked. He wouldn't do that. He's not like that. We've been together too long. Time became my excuse for him. I didn't know yet that time doesn't stop betrayal. Sometimes, it just gives it more space to hide. The truth didn't come from a confession. It came from something small. An old email. Buried deep. Too old to matter. Until it did. At first, I laughed it off. It was dated years back. Before I needed to worry. Before it could threaten what we had now. When I asked him about it, he barely reacted. Oh, he said. That. He looked almost bored. That was nothing. A long time ago. Then he said the word that would stay with me longer than anything else. A mistake. I nodded, because at that moment I still believed him. I didn't know yet that mistakes don't last years. And I didn't know yet that this wasn't the beginning of the truth. It was the first crack. After that conversation, I tried to move on. I told myself he'd explained it. That it was old. That it didn't matter anymore. That's what I wanted to believe. But something about the way he said it stayed with me. Not defensive. Not guilty. Dismissive. Like I'd asked about a forgotten receipt. Not another woman. I started replaying the word in my head. A mistake. Mistakes are quick. Accidental. Over before they begin. This didn't feel like that. So I did something I hadn't done before. I paid attention. Not in a dramatic way. Quietly. I noticed how easily he avoided details. How often his answers stayed shallow. When I asked follow-up questions, he sighed. Like I was exhausting him. Why are you digging up old things? It was years ago. Why does it matter now? I didn't have a good answer. I just knew it did. One night, when he was asleep, I sat alone with my thoughts. I told myself not to look for more, that I'd only hurt myself. But the truth doesn't go away just because you ask it to, so I looked. And what I found didn't come all at once. It came in pieces. Another message. Another name. Different year. I told myself they were unrelated, until I found another. And another. The dates didn't overlap by accident. They followed a pattern. Years. Not months. Not weeks. Years. My chest felt tight as I sat there, staring at proof I wasn't supposed to see. I wasn't shocked yet. I was confused. I kept thinking there had to be an explanation. Something I was missing. When I finally asked him again, I didn't accuse. I just asked quietly, how many times? He didn't answer right away. That pause told me more than any confession could. It wasn't like that, he said. It wasn't serious. It didn't mean anything. I stared at him. It happened more than once, I said. He shrugged. Over the years, he replied, like that made it smaller. That's when I understood something I hadn't before. This wasn't one mistake. It was a habit, and he didn't look sorry. He looked inconvenienced, like my pain was an interruption, not a consequence. I went to bed that night knowing one thing for sure. The truth wasn't finished revealing itself, and neither was his ability to minimize it. After that night, I didn't rush to confront him again. I needed to understand what I was standing in. because the more I thought about it, the clearer it became. This wasn't confusion. It was control. He never volunteered information. He only answered what I asked. And even then, he chose his words carefully, always smaller than the truth. When I asked how long it lasted, he gave me a range. When I asked how many women, he remained silent. When I asked why, he gave me excuses. It was never serious. I never loved them. It didn't affect us. He spoke calmly, almost confidently, like repetition had made the lie comfortable. What hurt the most wasn't learning that he cheated. It was realizing how easily he had lived with it. He had laughed with me, planned with me, held me at night, all while carrying years of secrets he never intended to share. I asked him if he ever thought about telling me. He looked surprised. "Why would I?" he said. It was over. That sentence settled deep in my chest. To him, the cheating had an ending, but the truth didn't. I asked him if he understood why I was hurt. He sighed. "I just don't see why we're making this bigger than it needs to be." That's when I understood something painful. He wasn't minimizing the past. He was minimizing me, my feelings, my trust, my right to know the truth about my own life.
He kept calling it a mistake.
But mistakes don't repeat themselves quietly for years. Mistakes don't require planning. Mistakes don't survive routine. This did. I realized then that the cheating wasn't hidden because he was ashamed. It was hidden because it worked, because I trusted him, because I didn't question stability, because I believed time meant loyalty. That night, I lay awake next to someone I suddenly didn't recognize. Not because he had changed, but because I finally saw him clearly. And once you see the truth without excuses, you can't unsee it. I knew then that the next conversation wouldn't be about the past. It would be about whether I could live with a future built on silence. I asked him one last time to be honest with me, not because I needed more details, but I needed to see if honesty still existed between us. I told him calmly how much it hurt, how betrayed I felt, how the years mattered to me. He listened quietly, too quietly. Then he said something that changed everything. "I don't understand why you're stuck on this." He leaned back like we were discussing something minor. "It didn't affect us," he said. "It never changed how I treated you. It was just something physical." Just. That word again. I asked him if he would feel the same way, if the situation were reversed. He didn't answer. Instead, he sighed, like I was asking too much. "You're making this bigger than it is," he said. "You're choosing to be hurt." That's when I realized what he was doing. He wasn't explaining himself. He was rewriting the story. In his version, the cheating wasn't the problem. My reaction was, I was too sensitive, too emotional,
Too focused on the past.
He told me I should be grateful he stayed, that he always came home, that he chose me in the end, as if loyalty at the finish line erased betrayal along the way. I felt something go quiet inside me. Not anger, not sadness.
Clarity.
I understood then that accountability would never come freely. He would only give as much truth
As it took to make me stop asking.
And if I stayed, this wouldn't be the last time. He made me feel unreasonable for expecting honesty. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I just listened, because sometimes people tell you exactly who they are, not through confession, but through justification. That night, I knew the decision ahead of me wouldn't be easy, but it would be necessary. After that conversation, something inside me shifted. Not suddenly, not dramatically. It was more like exhaustion finally telling the truth. I stopped trying to make him understand how much it hurt. I stopped explaining why years mattered. I stopped asking questions he had no intention of answering honestly, because I realized something important. He understood me. He just didn't agree that my pain deserved space. In the days that followed, he acted like things could go back to normal.
He joked.
He made plans. He spoke about the future like it still belonged to both of us. And for the first time, I could see it clearly. He wasn't afraid of losing me. He was afraid of being uncomfortable. He wanted forgiveness, without accountability. Closure, without consequence. One night, I stood alone in the bathroom, looking at myself in the mirror. I looked tired, not from the betrayal, but from carrying the weight of it alone. I asked myself a question I had been avoiding. If nothing changed, could I live like this? With the truth minimized. With my feelings treated like an inconvenience. With years of dishonesty called a mistake. The answer came quietly.
No.
The next morning, I told him I needed space. He looked confused, almost offended.
For what? He asked. We talked about this.
I nodded. Yes, I said. And now I understand it. He waited for me to say more. I didn't, because for the first time, I wasn't trying to convince him of anything. I wasn't angry. I wasn't dramatic. I was done negotiating my self-respect. That was the moment I chose myself. Not loudly, not perfectly, but completely. Leaving didn't feel dramatic. There were no slam doors, no last arguments,
No speeches.
just a calm understanding that something had ended long before I said goodbye. The days after felt strange, too quiet, like my life had paused while I learned how to stand in it again. I replayed his words more than his actions. It didn't mean anything. It was a long time ago. You're making it bigger than it is. And slowly, I understood what hurt the most. He didn't betray me once. He betrayed me every day. He chose silence. Every year, he chose comfort over honesty. Every moment, he decided I didn't deserve the truth. Calling it a mistake made it easier for him to live with. But it didn't make it smaller for me. Mistakes don't last years. Mistakes don't require lies. Mistakes don't survive routine. What he did wasn't an accident.
It was a choice.
And realizing that didn't make me angry. It made me free. I stopped wondering what I could have done differently. I stopped questioning my instincts. I stopped trying to understand someone who never tried to understand me. Some nights were harder than others. Healing isn't clean. It doesn't move in a straight line. But I noticed something changing. I slept better. I breathed deeper. I felt lighter, not because the pain was gone, but because I wasn't carrying it alone anymore. I don't hate him. I don't need to. What I lost wasn't a good man. It was an illusion I held on to because I believed time meant loyalty. Now I know better. Love doesn't fail because people make mistakes. It fails when people refuse accountability. And I will never again shrink my pain to protect someone else's comfort. If loving honestly cost me everything, then it was worth walking away with my dignity intact, because staying silent would have cost me more.